Well, should the goal for most people be the same, or is the goal different from for each person?
It's different for each person.
And do most people even know what their goal is? Do most people say, I just want to make a lot of money. I want to make a, I want to, have a significant other, have a family, have a successful career.
No, that's all good stuff, and you can work for these goals. But just like the bottom line of it is, are you happy? Are you?
Do most people think about that though?
I don't know.
Most people just get into a routine and they just
that's it. They
just go.
Yeah, they're like zombies though, and they don't progress. They don't get off that wheel. They don't learn and stuff. When we're in these elements, it's almost being.
It's like Groundhog Day, right?
Yeah, exactly. You could be stuck in a bliss and not even know what's outside of the bliss, until you start bumping into walls and stuff like that, and then you're starting to feel there's different constructs of what's happening and what's going on. So a lot of that, and again, the way I look at it is also, if you were to almost like give it a pyramid in a sense, and so your higher up is more higher frequency people. So we work with, the people down below and trying to get them to move. So it helps when you get all this energy moving because it pushes also us up, because in the end you realize that, I've realized that we're all the same person in a sense. We're all connected in this oneness, or we're all one and stuff like that. And so like I view people like a mirror reflection of myself, or I'll view even like organic stuff like trees or rocks and stuff like that is part of me. And understanding this, you can only, until you get into these, like, you may not understand it at like a third density level, but when you start learning about this stuff in like 4 and then 5, you see your heart opens up more. It's like your heart chakra. The chakra system has been around for many thousands of years. And you start to learn that it's important to open up the heart in order to open up the mind more. And when you open up the mind, it opens up like the third eye is your connection to a higher self of you. And that's what's happening with people. So, and that is going on with like the different energies that are coming into this planet at this time. We're feeling things, and I can scan myself, and
so it's almost like you have to take an antacid to get rid of the acid. You have to have the right frequency to offset the negative frequency.
Yes. It's like a switch, and we can talk to ourselves. We can talk to our cells within ourselves, and we can heal ourselves. There's been yogis and like, people that meditate on top of mountains, and this is something that I learned on some of my trips, is how to heal a lot of these blockages that don't want to go away, that are, that aren't of purpose to me anymore, because I'm
mental blocks.
Part of it's mental, part of it's physical. I can, like I said, I can scan the self, and I can find if there's problems going on. Like, you'll feel like if there's like certain pain, well, the pain is important because it allows us to know there's something going on in this area. And so we should really focus on the area and see what's going on.
And just because you feel a pain in one area doesn't mean that's where it's originating.
Exactly. So
it's like acupuncture, right?
It is. Yeah. So that's why it's important to do, like, I do like full body scans of myself. And it's also done what's called Reiki as well. Mm-hmm. I've had people do energy work on me and stuff like that. And what they do is they'll scan the body.
And they don't even touch you.
No,
right?
they don't.
It's just use the energy.
Yeah.
I have a friend who's a master in that.
Yeah. And it's really cool, you know. And a lot of it is like you would feel if there's a lot of heat coming from an area. So like you would need to kind of like do a focus on this area, and you can actually pull out sometimes, you know, because your body is energy as well. So you can remove a lot of these blockages as well by yourself. That's just one of the things that I've learned over the years. And again, that's part of going up the ladder of consciousness. And what I mean by learning of consciousness is actually learning who you are in your relationship to everything around you as well. You know. And
so if I just say, okay, let's just take today as an example.
Sure.
Okay, you get up in the morning.
Yep.
And you get ready for work.
Yep.
And then you go to work. You drive to work. So during your day, what type of things are you just focused on the task at hand, or are you thinking about these things as you go throughout the day?
It's funny.
Are you looking at the door as, hello, my friend, please open?
No, because I don't have to. Because you realize, you know, you start running on automatic in a sense. So what I'll do in the day is mostly be in the present moment and focus on the task and stuff like that. And if my mind wanders, you know, there's a reason why it's wandering, so I try to bring it back, you know, but then I'll question why it's wandering and try to figure out, well, if there's something else that needs my attention and stuff like that. You know, I try to have a very Zen mind, in a sense, is how I like to think about it. Very calm mind, so that you can be in the present moment, but it's almost like in a meditative state as well. And if something needs your attention, it will appear to you and stuff like that. Like right now I'm here and you are here. So like there's a energy exchange between the two of us. Now, and I can kind of see it moving back and forth as well. And I can not only see it, but feel it as well. You know, you could feel the energy moving and the thoughts and stuff like that. But I also know that I have energy coming in this way too. So like I'm like my upper self, and my higher self is also comes in through my light body, and it moves through my chakras, and it comes into the earth. So I have energy also coming from the earth that moves this way and moves this way. You know, and this is one of those things that I learned about, not only with the chakras, but like our surroundings and stuff like that, how we have like these, it's like a Merkaba is what it's called, that spins around us, and it creates an energy field around us, and how that moves with the world as well. So to go back to your question, you know, when you are daily grind and stuff like that, yes, I can be in one place and do this, but I also know that I'm in other places as well.
Simultaneously?
Yeah. So it's almost like you can...
Consciously in other places?
Both consciously and unconsciously. Yeah. So it's almost like, you know, you can put yourself in your studio here, you know, and you can almost think of like a surrounding of a beach around you, you know, and then you can start to see the beach, you know, and the waters, and you can start to feel it. So you can change your environment around you and adapt to that as well. So this goes to another question you had of like asking about a willow tree and stuff like that. So I learn a lot also from my dreams, you know, and like sometimes they may not make sense when I come out of the dreams, but afterwards, you know, you begin to dissect them and stuff like that, especially when they're reoccurring dreams and, you know, repeating dreams. There's something to be said about that. So here's the real sense of things. So I used to live down in New Jersey, right? And, you know, we had it was like a ranch style house. We lived on like an acre and a half of land, And it was pretty, we had houses all around, not too busy, but, we had houses. In our backyard, we had willow trees. And as a boy, so this would have been my early, from age like 7 to 14. We would build our tree houses, play games in the back and stuff like that. And one of the things I noticed, even back then, I would look at the trees and nature and stuff like that, and maybe not question it why, but just enjoy it. You're being a kid, you're playing outside and you're having fun. So one of the things I realized, maybe not at that time, but later on in life, is my connection to like trees and stuff like that, and especially willow trees. I believe, in a sense, that I was a tree at one time. Mm. And this goes back not just through dreams, but like just the feeling of a tree and willow trees. And I know what a tree feels like, because I climb many trees. But I had a real strong connection with like willow trees and stuff like that. And one of the things I've learned later on is past lives. How we can be many things in different past lives. Some people are, we've been many other people in past lives just for different experiences. But I've also learned that sometimes we're, maybe we are trees in past lives, or maybe we are rocks, or maybe we are like air elementals, or different aspects of like life, and I believe that's important, because being here on Earth is, to me, it's very key. This is a very special place, and this is me being aware of what's happening and all the studying and stuff that I've done. It all connects for me, and I had to learn, from like one density, going back to, now this is going back to one. It's very elemental in its form. It's fire, earth, air, and water and stuff like that is like one density. Your rocks, your dirt and stuff like that. When you get to two density, it becomes more animals and plants and stuff like that. And then after that becomes third density, which is humans and stuff like that. So you can see there's a gradual growing of understanding of, and then when you reach third, it's like a conscious state where you start to become aware.
Right, and the complexity increases.
Yes. So going back to the willow tree, I realized that I was the willow tree, in my backyard, in a sense.
You realized that from your dreams?
Both the dreams, but then as I was going back in my reincarnation of life and stuff. So like, it was very weird. So I became two people in one picture. I was like the boy in the backyard playing in the tree, and I can only look upon that now as seeing, that was both me. I was the boy. I was playing in the tree and stuff like that, and like how we say, like, being in the now. So what happens is when you're in the now, it's like time doesn't exist, only in the present moment. So time can move, or space can move in either direction. So even if I was going back in time and I was being a tree, it was still in this lifetime, in a sense. So you can be more than one in a conscious state in a lifetime. Just that the frequencies are slightly different. So it allows you to be like more than one thing in the present moment.
Some people can't even handle one life.
And that happens. So like there are those that can't handle life and they leave life early, suicides and stuff like that we hear. So what I understand and the stuff that I've read is, sometimes they have to repeat it. It's important for them to repeat what they were trying to initially learn. They need to learn to get off that cycle or move beyond the cycle and go beyond that. Or sometimes they don't learn, and maybe they get stuck or lost.
People give up.
People give up.
That's why people drink, right, and do drugs.
Yeah, part of it is to forget. Part of it's to remember. So it goes both ways, And sometimes we have
Take
these.
the pain away.
Yeah, it's terrible. But then, sometimes they'll do that, and they have these big crashes that happen, and then they wake up from these crashes having like near-death experiences, and now they're this total different person. So like, in a sense, they had to go through this in order to get here, and that's kind of how it works and how I look at it. Like, we had to go, both you and me, everything that we've ever experienced in this lifetime and in our past lifetimes, everything that we ever were, we had to learn in order to be in this moment of where we are now, is basically how it works.
With the end goal of what?
Well, the end goal, we can say that, if we're in a ascension path, and that's what a lot say, so we are continually ascending, and it's to reconnect with the one, we could say, or with the all, I should say. And what that is, like the total conscious state. So there is a, and it's always around us and stuff like that. And the reason why we're here at this level, and everybody's at different levels, is because they're learning and they're feeding information back to the allness. The allness is learning from everybody down here and stuff like that of what it is, this conscious state. And this is, it's kind of like a weird play on things, and a lot of people don't know it, but a lot of people do know it, and that's kind of how it is. And I did get you another book, which is kind of interesting too. So this one,
You're going to be busy.
I know. All right, so
which one should I read first?
so you could start with the Celestine Prophecy.
Okay.
So let's just say, and this is stuff that I've learned, and I'm passing on, and it's for some people, it's not for everybody, because maybe they're not ready, or maybe their paths are different. Excuse me. So another thing I learned is there's almost like a set of rules that belongs to like this reality, this universe, and it connects with a lot of other universes and other places and stuff like that. And it's written here, and it's called the Kybalion. Also Hermetic philosophy and stuff like that. And this goes back many ages. And
There you go.
yeah, and you can have that one as well. Absolutely. And so there's like a set of principles that almost like define borders and stuff like that. So it almost like puts all this chaotic mess into a little more structured sense of what it is. To give you a few examples, how this world works, I'm sure you've heard as above, so below. And what that means is like we work on different levels, but it doesn't matter how small or how big it is. It continues, the idea works. It's almost the same on this level as it is on this level as it is on this level and stuff like that. There's been times where I almost felt like a god looking down upon, the people of Earth and stuff like that, and beings and stuff like that. And, my beliefs and stuff were still the same, and I realized I was still the same, but I'm like, we are also our own gods. It's within us, and you can take that as a good thing and a bad thing, because there are both good and bad gods. Some of them control us, if, in a sense, or that's because the weaker, in a sense, weaker or less vibrational people are easily manipulated, easily controlled as well, and that goes to like a lot of this chaos and fear and stuff like that that's been put upon us. You need to go above that in order to get out of this. We can call it a matrix, or like this certain wheel that we're spinning around. And
well, what I was thinking when you're talking about that is, it's kind of like when you're thinking about somebody and then you get a phone call from them.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah. Which happens. That happens to me all the time. Not just thinking, but saying, like, and they'll be like, I was just going to say that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or even doing, as in
vu.
like, deja vu is another aspect of that. Or doing things before they were to do it, and like it's all there. In a sense that I like to think of that as like you're reading I like to think of it as waves of the future. Sometimes people will pick up on things that are happening before it happens, and they'll do things before it happens. A good example of that is like 9/11, and when the towers fell. If you were to just think about it, it was a massive amount of energy that went into it, and a lot of people felt it afterwards. So being done, we have this event that happens, and then a ripple that happens both forward and backward in so-called time. So there were people that were feeling this like maybe days or weeks before the actual events.
Really?
Because of the ripple that it created and the amount of energy that went into this.
But they didn't know what it was.
It depends on how in tune they were. So some people may have known what this was.
Right. Don't get on an airplane on 9/11.
Yeah, they had this gut feeling, and some people follow their guts. And that's key. So always listen to your gut. It's important that you do that, because this is where the intuition comes from, and the cleaner the gut, and the more you're able to follow that with the heart, the cleaner the head, you kind of have, and stuff like that.
I've often found I've made some, if I don't listen to what I call my Spidey sense, I usually regret it. I've learned that when that intuition is ringing the bell or the red light's going, I don't even question it. I just go.
That's it. Yeah. And I'm able to do that as well, and like be able to make quick moves.
Well, sometimes it's the difference between success and failure, life and death.
Yeah, it really is. But in the long run, I learned to, just kind of breathe and relax and stay in the flow of things, because occasionally you will see that rock coming, so you will have to kind of like, move aside and go to this side and stuff like that. But you can sense these things coming, so it's easier to move around it. But you're right, sometimes you got to do quick moves, because, but it's all good. Is the way I see it. The way it's meant to be made, like you said.
Yeah, and with you saying that, I'm thinking about some of these trades that I made. Is I should have zigged instead of zagged, and I don't know why I didn't, because I had a strong feeling of what was coming, but I was kind of letting hope take over. I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Instead of listening to the vibrations or the signals.
Well, even sometimes, like, I'll do things I have no idea why I did them, and it doesn't make sense, and I try to explain it, but I can't even do that. It's only, sometimes after, or maybe it never comes to me, but usually it does, of why that was meant to be.
Yeah.
So, like, just like you said before, it's meant to be, everything that we've done. Even though we may not know what we're doing sometimes, we can only look back upon it, until, see the truth of it. And what happens is, it's like a chain reaction. So like one thing happens, and then another thing happens, and then another thing, and it just kind of branches out. And like before you know it, you're changing things on the opposite side of the world because of moves you're making on this side.
The butterfly effect.
Exactly, the butterfly effect. Yep.
Well, back when I was in college, I remember that's where I met my buddy Dan. If you've seen any of the videos with me and Dan, and you might have met him when he was here, but he used to be a big proponent of it was meant to be.
Yeah.
So we were having a debate one time. We were driving into Boston to go to a bar, and it was me, Dan, and our buddy John, and we were debating because I was like, I just can't understand how it's meant to be. So that means I shouldn't do anything, that I should just sit here and just wait for it to happen. And he's trying to explain it. So we didn't agree when we finally get there. He parks the car, and we're in Boston, and they have the high curbs. Yeah. And I open up his door, and the door goes scrape on the sidewalk. And I go, well, Dan, I guess it was meant to be.
Oh, man. Oh, yeah.
He's like, you son of a gun.
Yeah, that's.
I struggle with that one, Paul.
It's tough, yeah.
Because if it's meant to be, then does that mean my decision is? I never really had a decision then.
Well, you do. It's free will. I mean, free will is a big thing. So you do have choice.
But if it's meant to be, then I was always going to make that choice. Right?
That's true in a sense. But maybe that's interesting. So like,
because the Bible talks about that as well, as God knows all, God will take care of you, this and that, and so it's kind of like, but then you have free choice. Well, then what's the point? I mean, if it's already preordained, then what am I doing struggling for?
Mm-hmm. That's right. You can just sit here for the rest of your life and not do anything because it was meant to be.
What an interesting life.
But that's the thing. So, like, if it was meant to be that way, it would be that way. But in a sense, you know that you're going to change it anyways because that's not you. So you could take that as, maybe some things are meant to be and then maybe some things aren't meant to be, depending on the situation of it, They say, it's important for us to experience life. It's important for us to really enjoy it and play and like try things and stuff like that, because that's how we learn. And not only are we learning, but we're actually, like I said, connecting to the higher source of all and everything. It's learning as well. So
probably rule number one is get rid of your television then.
You can do that.
Well,
yeah.
So I would think that, I would think that would block most. I don't know. I don't see anything positive in having a television.
So yeah, we don't have one. However, we don't have a television. We don't watch.
Yeah, you watch
specific
movies
program.
occasionally.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, and usually the movies we watch have some pretty good information and stuff like that. Is why we watch them and stuff like that. I like to see artistic stuff, and documentaries is what we usually watch, and sometimes a series here or there. But like everything else, it doesn't really serve me, so that's okay. You can keep selling TVs, but I probably won't, I may buy one to upgrade ours, but I probably won't watch TV.
Right. I just think a TV is what people fall back on as part of their routine, right?
It is. Yeah, that's one of those things where, and again, it's like your 9-to-5 job, you come home, you have dinner, sit in front of the TV, and that's the end of your day. You go to bed, you wake up, and the cycle continues and stuff like that. It's real easy to get trapped in something like that, and it shows. People who are in those situations. You could see their bodies deteriorating. They have lack of motivation. It's real tough for them to just do stuff. They're having problems. And like that happens. And
Tough to be happy in that scenario.
It really is. It really is.
As far as I know, I'm only on this earth X amount of years, right?
Yeah.
Whatever that could be.
Yeah.
Could be 50. It could be 100. Who knows?
Sure.
But it's in the grand scheme of things. Like I like to walk through the graveyards because it gives me that perspective.
Yeah.
Where you look and you see these people have been dead 200 years.
Yeah.
They've been dead a lot longer than they were alive.
Yeah.
And it's a kick in my butt to not waste a day if I can avoid it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that day is now gone forever. I'm one day closer to the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe that's a ridiculous thought, but that's how I try to always strive at doing whatever I think I need to do.
Sure. But I always take too is like where there's an end, there's a beginning, a new beginning. So like your time may end here, but there's a good chance you'll continue elsewhere, and you'll move on, and you'll be doing things different. Who knows? Maybe you'll come back as a somebody else in the future.
Well, you told me before that people tend to find each other in different lives.
Yes, I do believe that. And how it works too is through their energy signals. The frequency, how
so chances are we knew each other before.
That is a really good chance. I believe that. Because I do believe we have a connection.
I was the oak tree, you were the willow tree.
You never know. You never know.
Or maybe I was the guy who chopped you down.
That could have been.
I hope not.
But that's so true. So and it's really interesting, how I said, even you had a similar vibration, or you reminded me of my other friend and stuff like that. There's something
Is he still alive?
I believe he is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And, there's something about you guys, and I just have I resonate with that stuff, You're both Geminis. Maybe that could be. I am as well, so there's maybe something in that. He was very meticulous in his work and stuff like that, as you are.
Yeah.
Very, aware of just surroundings. I mean, he was in the markets. He used to follow markets as well. He was an adventure guy. We did a lot of adventuring, and so there's a lot of similarities. So it's interesting. So you can almost say that maybe we came from the same grouping, of prior to where we are now in this lifetime. And that's how we were able to find ourselves through, it just naturally happens, And that's another thing in the book. It talks about polarities, talks about positive and negative, and how there's an attraction to each, and every upside has a downside to it, in a sense, and a bunch of other good things it says about that too. I wish I can remember, but but yeah, polarities. It talks about that as well. It's interesting.
Well, polarities are opposites.
Yeah. But you can change, different polarities, positive and negative as well, too. Like up in our brain, we can change from a negative thought to a positive thought and stuff like that.
Well, that's a good skill.
Yeah.
That's a good skill because everybody faces negatives in their lives, and they have to try to not let it like if you can't sleep because of something, right?
Sure.
Do you ever have anything that keeps you up at night that you worry about, or?
No, I don't. I really don't worry. You know, because to me, you know, I play along like what we've been saying, like everything is meant to be, and I have all the time in the world. You know, I don't feel like there's an end to this. I know it continues.
You don't
after
worry
me.
about money?
No. I mean, I do my part into producing it and making it. I mean,
Like when you bought the van and the van died on you, that didn't bother you?
well, you know, I mean, of course it bothers you, but like, again, it's, you know, we try to be prepared for any kind of situation that comes, you know, the end of the world and stuff like that. I mean, I have all the bug out gear and like the camping gear and like the survival gear. I mean, I kind of have all that stuff, you know, and, you know, but I also learned that, you know, how to be out in nature and stuff like that, and being able to survive out there. So, like, experiencing this stuff kind of puts you a little more at ease of, like, that if shit was to happen, then you're a little more prepared to handle what happens. Part of that also is, like, you know, going back to the Aikido and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's what's being directed at you. How do you handle that and stuff like that? You know, we can take it face on, which is a lot harder than for it to, you know, push it aside and stuff like that.
Yeah, if you can use somebody else's energy against them, it's a lot easier than using yours.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
If you can figure that out.
It's true.
And you just have to get into the right position.
Yeah, it's true. And, you know, I run into this stuff, you know, a lot of it's daily. So, like, we'll run into people with, like, that will have a conversation with you and have a negative thoughts and stuff like that. Well, I know how to redirect it. It's almost like, you know, you become the mirror. So, like, you just let them do and say what they have to do. And they're almost like their energy, you can see it bouncing back and going right direct at them. And it's almost like they're asking a question and they're answering it at the same time. With you just having that, you know.
Just being silent?
Just being like, well, you're aware and you just kind of, you don't have any thoughts or like, you just, or you do.
Like that guy who swore at me at the supermarket. Like,
yeah.
How would you have handled that? Well, I mean, I know how I would have done it if I wasn't. I was off my game that day, but would you have just said, "Let me talk to your manager," or would you just have walked out? What would?
Well, you can.
How would you be the mirror in that situation if somebody's?
Okay, well, let's put it this way, someone comes at you and they're angry and stuff, you know, and they're yelling at you and stuff like that. I will not do anything with you. I'll be like, you know what? When you calm down, we can talk about the situation. You know.
You'll actually say that.
Absolutely. You know, because it doesn't do me any good. Because you're not. You need to be more. Rational about your thinking and stuff like that. If it was a situation where, like, you know, maybe I did something and they don't quite agree with it, so then it comes back to me and, you know, they're talking to me about it, I'll be like, okay, so I see where you're coming from, you know, and if he doesn't quite want to, like, make a settlement of whatever the argument is, if I feel it's, you know, maybe for the better or the good, or not, you know, I may bring it above him. That's where he would go to the manager and stuff like that and explain, look, this is what happened. This is a situation. This is, you know, how I'm getting played back at this, you know. Or I'll just look at the whole situation and be like, you know what? The amount of energy that goes into this, is it really worth my time to
ruin your day,
go the extra mile and try to fix something that, I know I'll be back in here and may never be fixed, So there's different ways to handle, And again, it's again going back to the Aikido, it all depends on how the energy comes at you and how you want to respond to it, and what is the best way. And then you go back to your other question of like, well, it doesn't matter which way we make it because it's every way is almost the correct way in a sense. If we made the move for any three or any other possible way that could have possibly been, was it the correct way? Well, the only way to answer that is if I'm here now, then it was the correct way to handle the situation at the time.
Well, plus the other thing is these events are cumulative.
Yeah.
So I would think it's a lot better to avoid the negative events because one can lead to another, to another, to another.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that usually happens, And you can see that in groups of people. Like sometimes someone's not having a good day and then you start to see now two people kind of like acting upon this person's energy and then like the group starts changing and then the whole room changes and you're like, oh man, I just don't want to be here,
Yeah.
It's not worth my energy, my time and energy. So you just kind of move away from that, And but you always try to leave, with a positive, every time it's a negative situation and stuff like that. And
does smiling help?
Well, as long as you're not like
simple?
Mocking it or something like that, but like
no, I mean,
smiles do help. Yeah. Because it's not only like the muscles and
even if it's not real to begin with, sometimes it's like you got to fake it to make it.
Yeah. No, smiles are actually really good. You could be, I'm sorry, but I just can't help you. Sometimes we just can't help people, and that's also working with the heart and stuff like that. You try to keep this open at all times. Because that's key for keeping you aligned and in harmony with yourself and everything else that's meant to be. And it's not an easy thing. Yeah, it definitely is not.
No, it's what we've talked about. I mean, most people probably will not understand it, and those who would, they're probably going to be like, well, where do you even begin? Right? Where do you even start?
Yeah.
I would say something as simple as just taking long walks by yourself is a form of meditation.
Yeah.
Doing something, I think being by yourself is a way to start the process.
Yeah. Here's what I found. So 3 key elements is eating right, sleeping right.
Sleep is very important.
And exercise. Go out for the walk, make sure you eat right. And so like what that already does is it starts to put you more balanced and stuff like that. And then afterwards, you start to, you can start changing your patterns of thinking and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And trying to hold back a lot of the negative and adding more of the positive to it. Doing positive things, that changes us as well. And then, before you know it, you start to feel a little lighter, a little happier, and you start to realize that, maybe this is working. Maybe, why keep going around the same wheel every time if you're not going to get off? The only way to get off is if you change, And these are simple ways to change and redirect yourself is basically what you're doing.
Yeah, and sometimes there's no perfect situation too. Sometimes you just got to go with. Sometimes you just got to take the leap of faith.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Because if you're waiting for a perfect scenario, maybe that never comes.
That's true. So you try to initialize it as well. So maybe
just on the fly.
Sometimes, but if that's not working, so you're waiting or you're trying to push it to happen, and it's just kind of like it's not happening.
Change.
Change.
Change
That's it.
it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. If it doesn't work, it goes out the door.
Yeah. Try something else.
Yeah. Yep. These things sound so simple, but then people complicate them.
That's true.
We complicate things.
Oh, believe me, I get in my own way all the time.
I know. It's like I'm thinking of all the recent mistakes I've made and how I was just I just didn't take the action at the right time, which led to paying a penalty, as they say.
Sure. Yep.
I don't know. It's I don't know. We'll see. I don't know.
Well, we can mistakes, but we can. It's a learning experience, so we can.
Well,
learn
you
from
hope
it.
so.
Yeah.
If it's not fatal.
Well, you're still here, so you're doing all right.
Well, things don't always kill you right away. No, it's too much to get into in one conversation. We can talk about it another time, but it's I wonder how many people really know what they want out of life.
Sure.
That it's, and not that I care about what other people think, but because it's I see people who made certain decisions, like they got married, they had a family, and while that's a positive, it's also for them it turned out to be a very large negative as well. Maybe they got divorced. Maybe they don't have a great family life relationship with their kids, whatever that is.
Yep.
So I mean, all of a sudden, what was supposed to be a positive ended up turning to be a huge negative, right? Cost them a lot of money, a lot of time, and it's kind of like maybe, I don't know, a lot of those things maybe could be avoided if you actually thought about it a little bit more, or research. I don't know. And it's the same thing with an investment or with any decisions that we make, is how much time and energy we put into it.
Yeah. Yeah, anything can turn out positive or negative. It really can. It's all perception, of how we look at things too.
Well, for example, how would you, like, if you end of a relationship, or no, let's go like the van that you put money into the van.
Sure.
And it ended up not working out.
Yeah.
It ended up dying on you.
Sure.
How is that how can you look at that positively?
Well, I can see that obviously, the value of money going into it is one thing, but actually being able to use the van in a purpose, we went down to Georgia. We took the van down to Georgia to help some friends of ours. It broke down along the way, but we managed to get them all back and their gear and stuff like this. And my friend was really ill. He came back and he was ill for like a couple months afterwards. I mean, so like, it could have been a lot worse if he was stuck down there, but something told me and Carolina, we're like, you know what, we have time, we have van, we have a AAA card, so if anything happens, we're okay, so it's also a material thing too, is to be like,
so if you lost $20,000 on that van, that wouldn't bother you?
I would feel it, and I've lost thousands of dollars over the years, and I can think back on these times and be like, it kind of sucked at the moment, but I try to take it as a learning experience as well. Because again, it is only money, and it is, a material thing. So to me, the things that are more important, go beyond the material sense of things,
So for you, what is the most important thing to you?
It's it's loving everybody, and being able to be loved back and stuff like that, So like, family, Carolina, and then my son Lucian, my brothers and sisters, my close friends, this is the important stuff for me, So like, I can lose everything, but at the same time, I'd be okay, because again, it's only stuff, and like, it's funny because actually we were thinking about the graveyard, scenario as well, and we occasionally walked through them ourselves, and we were looking at these graveyards, and people forget about these people, so like, and like, they move on, they go somewhere else, and it's interesting because that connects to, I had this huge record collection, of like music you probably never hear anymore, stuff recorded in the 60s or the 50s and stuff like that. These people put their heart and soul into it, and now they've passed, and all this stuff is gone, and it's all material stuff that gets moved on. We're helping a friend clean out her space. She will never go back there again, and her life is in there, and that's it. It's gone. So we can think about that, the stuff, or we could think about the stuff that really matters, the important stuff, and that's what I believe in, and that's almost like crossing over from like the material to the more spiritual sense of life, because we start to learn about ourselves and our connection with the earth and nature, and our connection with the higher source of God and all that. And we see our connection between everybody else. That's the important stuff for me. That's the stuff that matters.
Yeah, and that's those are choices.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I was talking to Dan, and I mean, a lot of people, like, they're going around, they're beeping the horns, they're like, get the hell out of my way. They're like so focused on themselves that they don't even care how they act.
Yeah.
Or how they behave or how they feel.
Yeah. Yeah. And this goes back to those people who are more at a lower vibration, because they don't think about that stuff. And it's more about the self. And it's more about the ego and the material things. All that exists on these lower levels, And it's only when you start to be more aware and start to open up a little more is when you can go above this, and then you see these things, And, I've been there. I've been through all this stuff, so I understand it. I know what they're going through. I was like, to my brother and sister, oh man, they didn't want a thing to deal with me, And of course, those kids, we were pains to our parents and stuff like that, and like, I didn't follow the rules and stuff like that. It took me a while to get out of high school and stuff like that. But, I pushed myself through. And I had to go through all that. It was meant to be in order to be where I am today and the stuff that I know today. I build upon all that, and then I share my experience with everybody else. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's leave it there for now.
Yeah.
Before this thing dies.
Well, thank you very much, everyone.
Hey.
Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Paul.
Absolutely.